So today I've been thinking about the journey to self-love, and there are so many different aspects of how that might be possible. And I was chatting with some friends this morning who said to me that they found self-love really difficult. And yet they're making choices in their life to enhance the quality of their body, the quality of their heart, the quality of their well-being. And yet they don't recognize that as self-love. And I just thought that was really interesting because I think there's a place where we all do love ourselves. And then there's parts of ourselves where we've got that negative biased voice that tells us we're not good enough, that, interfaces with where we don't love ourselves. And so it's just an interesting journey for me about how we recognize where we are actually, and also looking at how we might get to a deeper place with it. Because what my own experience of this is that as I deepen my own kind of connection to love, connection to myself, connection to my own heart, connection to my well-being, connection to my body, I feel freer, I feel more joyful. And what I'm noticing is that I can pull myself out of those black rabbit holes that we all go into so much more easily and with so much more grace, actually. And I'd like everybody to be able to have this sense of freedom. I've been a freedom seeker all my life. And there's something about, freedom that I always used to think it was an external freedom, I could be anywhere in the world. And I remember traveling somewhere and driving down the road somewhere in South America and feeling like, wow, I'm completely free. No one knows where I am. No one has any sense of me at all. I had my daughter in the back of the car, one of my daughters at the time. And I just had this, but it was like a really strong sense of inner and outer experience. But there's something else about freedom, which I think ties really closely in with self-love, which is where we actually start to be able to be in that place all the time, or more of the time. Anyway, and certainly more of the time would be a starting point to the journey from where we might think we're nowhere to somewhere to further. And it's an ongoing path anyway. As we unravel and unpick and unravel ourselves, I suppose at some level, we're able to sort of clean up some of the places where we haven't held on, where we haven't loved ourselves, where we've had a really strong negative bias about ourselves, where we've really not honoured the truth of, who we are, and the fact that actually it's okay to be human, and it's okay to be messy, and it's okay to have horrible thoughts, and it's okay to have all the human experiences that we all have actually, in a day sometimes. We might feel angry, sad, frustrated, hateful towards somebody, hateful towards ourselves perhaps. And at the same time, we might feel happiness, joyfulness, contentment, fear, and all of those might come into a day, actually, at some little moments when something has happened that creates that feeling inside us. And the triggers that create those feelings inside us are only places, I'm coming to learn, is that those triggers are really only the places that we're not healed. It's only the places where we've got those unmet wounds, where we've got those unmet parts of ourselves that we haven't liked enough to say hello to, and we haven't been able to embrace enough to honour and to love and to nurture back to life, actually, and back to love, And really, there is no stronger force on this planet than love. There really isn't. So the more that we can kind of start to cultivate those little steps on the journey towards what would it be like? And I mean, maybe you ask yourself the question, what would it be like if I felt more love towards me? What would it feel like what would it be like? What would my life feel like? What would my life look like? What would I want it to look like? And I think we have an opportunity to ask all of those questions. And maybe we don't know the answers, and we don't need to know the answers, actually. But as you start to ask them, you're sending out different messages to the universe to say, actually, I want to explore this. I'd like to find out more. And just in that place, we get gifted. We get gifted because the universe is there, supporting us in whatever way we're able to receive it. And when we're really quiet, the gifts are everywhere. It's like magic. Honestly, it's just like magic. Sometimes I feel like, wow, my life is like completely magical. So all these amazing little things happen. I'd gone down to the beach a couple of days ago, and I was having just a moment of real deep sadness, and I was sitting on the steps at the side of the beach, with just watching the magnificent sunset actually, but also crying and thinking to myself, well, I wasn't actually thinking about anything. I was just experiencing the moment. And two friends of mine, completely out of the blue, passed by, and they sat down each side of me, and they held me, and they made me laugh. And it was just like a gift. I hadn't asked for it. I hadn't called it. Didn't expect it. They didn't expect to see me. They didn't even expect to be there that afternoon. So we just never know. And it was such a beautiful moment of just, oh, thank you. Just thank you. Just thank you for showing me what's possible. And of course the sadness then passed actually, and I didn't need to revisit either the experience that had caused it, or, which I don't like to do anyway, particularly if I don't have to, but I didn't have to revisit the feeling at that moment. I'm sure sadness will arise again, as it always does, but it's just embracing it actually. And what I was actually doing was sitting, just letting the light of the amazing sunset just come over me and be there with me. So I hope you find some moments and ask the question, what would it be like? What would it be like? What would my life feel like? What would I like it to feel like if you just brought a little bit more love in, and see what happens.